Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday the 29th of April, 2026. I'm Pearson Boyne, welcoming you to the start of a new day, Wednesday. Wednesday it is indeed. And so, yesterday was National Heroes Day, the 20th. Today is Wednesday, the 29th. And so I encourage all of you watching on our streams on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, cbc.bb, to continue sharing the show, continue having your moments between yourselves, but continue commenting with us as well. We love to read your comments relative to what we're doing as well. So we appreciate that. And as always, if you know of something or someone who has a story to tell us about it by sending us an email to the email address at the bottom of your screen. It's morninbarbados@cbc.bb. morninbarbados@cbc.bb. How did you spend your day? Was it peaceful? Was it relaxing? Was it that time that you took with your children and younger people and you yourself to visit all, as Ambassador David Kamishon reminded you, to take that little bit of a pilgrimage, to go to some scenic spots to see where our national heroes made great impact? And there's so many areas indeed. The Monument to the Families in Bridgetown is one area for sure which you ought to have visited to get a sense from all of the steelies there of the life and times and contributions to Barbados and the Caribbean by our 11 national heroes. Perhaps you did. If you didn't, it's all right. You still have time to catch up where that's concerned. Now, coming up today, we want to continue our look at Alzheimer's and dementia and looking at the world standard, really, because one of the board members, the executive board members of the Barbados Alzheimer's Association, recently attended a conference, and she continues to educate us following that conference. In a few days' time, just under 3,000 Barbadian children will be sitting what we call the 11 plus examination, and we want to hear from a seasoned educator about how we prepare for and what's the value of the education system and the value of this particular exam as well. We'll take a look at that. Also, our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood, will help us spotlight those moments of anxiety in our children as they prepare for this exam and what we should do, not just for the examination, but following the examination as we help our children manage their anxiety. Friday is Labor Day, and so we want to take a look at labor. Labor as relates to the laborers and labor as relates to how HR practitioners are managing it in today's context. And we'll also be meeting today the engine behind the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation's $20 challenge. They'll join us to share with us why they lend their support in the way that they continue to do. But I want to share with you now, and I ask the question, what does it take to bridge the deepest divides in our world and find the humanity that we all share? Well, Barbados is leading the way, and Heartbeat of Humanity is a documentary series created for the Zayed Award for Humanity Fraternity, and it just took home 2 Webby Awards in New York, beating out National Geographic, Netflix, and the Washington Post and the likes. Now, the Webby Awards is like the Oscars of the internet. And what makes this one particularly special for us, as we'll share with you in just a moment, is that Prime Minister Mia Amal Motley is featured within it. She is an Zayed awardee, as you remember, and she's featured alongside the incredible work being done right here by the Oceania Innovation Hub. The film is directed by Kieran Hodges and his team at Film by People. So let's take a look at this Heartbeat of Humanity.
In 2025, we see destruction. We see people that have lost many things, some of them everything. Natural disasters, tornadoes in Brazil, hurricanes in Jamaica, in the Middle East, and all continents.
The reality is that young people, they're going to face extreme conditions. They're going to have to adapt and become far more resilient because what the climate crisis will present to them goes beyond anything that we have ever dreamt about.
The biggest issue with healthcare today is it's not affordable and it's not accessible to everyone. In a world that seems more divided than ever, what frustrates me more than anything is when young people's ideas aren't taken seriously. We are the leaders of tomorrow, and we need to take action today to make that happen. When I won the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity, it changed my life, and I knew I had to pay that forward by starting Care for All, a youth-led nonprofit organization that brings young people together under the shared message of healthcare accessibility. People coming together at the local level to make an impact in the way that they can. We are currently working with over 1,000 youth-led members worldwide, and it's just been so incredible to see.
I decided to put the funds from the Zayed Award to the Green Rising chapter in Barbados, where we believe in young people, to give them the tools that they need in order to be able to show the rest of the community how they too can adapt to the climate crisis.
It gives us hope because the ideas of the young people are supported.
Stronger communities make stronger nations, and nations' voices coming together can make a better world.
Being recognized with this award has been extremely helpful for us, for many people that didn't know of our work, to know what is it that we do. We don't feed countries, we feed people that need to get fed, people that need to have a hope for a better tomorrow.
Today we are giving around 5,000 meals. We're trying our best to feed the most people.
This that one single meal that means everything to someone.
It's about being there, about sharing the one piece of bread that you have. Every single person that comes to you and tells you that, thank you, you feel like you did something.
I believe that we can make the world a better place. It starts with the change that we want to see in ourselves.
I am so confident in the power of collective action to make a significant difference. There is nothing that we cannot accomplish if we work together.
When there's destruction, there's chaos. It is when the very best of humanity shows up.
Being together, this is what makes life meaningful.
Our shared humanity is our greatest strength. It leaves us with that lingering thought for just a moment. And so we just got a glimpse of the heartbeat of humanity expressed by those who would have won the Zayed Award. And so obviously the heartbeat continues. Catch the beat, catch the rhythm, and let's see if we together can make the global difference that the world seeks. We'll take a break here on Morning Barbados and we get going with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country?
Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 10 minutes after 6 o'clock, lest I forget. And lest I forget doesn't mean necessarily that I have dementia or Alzheimer's. It just simply means lest I forget. But sometimes it could very well be a precursor that causes us a little bit of pause because I might have missed the routine and forgotten that I had a routine. When that happens, how do you feel for real? How do you feel? And what treatment options are available for you when you feel that way, as if there's a cause for concern? Kyla Branch is an executive member of the board at the Barbados Alzheimer's Association. And so she joins us as we continue our conversation looking at the outcomes of the recent conference and how we can make it relevant for Barbados. And what is Barbados doing? Because she presented Barbados' position at that conference. But what is Barbados doing and what changes have been made to society so that we can become a more inclusive society and a more friendly society to people of dementia? Kyla, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson, and a lovely morning to Barbados as well, and of course all of the online listeners.
Oh, we thank you indeed for coming back to us. You know, when we last spoke, you spoke to a number of things, but I want to hit first on treatment because as you saw how I entered, why that's important. But we want to work on something for just a moment. But first, I want you to listen very, very carefully. And in listening as well, share your thoughts, share your perspective as well, because do not hide, because hiding solves nothing. And if you have a concern, we'll share with you how you can manage that concern as well and what the association is doing to help you bridge the gap of understanding as well. And so, yes. Let's talk a little bit about treatment options. How do we, one, recognize, and then what are treatment options available?
Okay, so firstly, lovely. Firstly, let me just say that the 37th Global Conference on Alzheimer's Disease International brought together, as you mentioned, so many persons, researchers, policymakers, civil society, of course, patients with dementia as well, which I neglected to mention on Monday, because of course we must be aligned with what the persons who are actually managing this condition, of course, how they feel. And one of the things that struck me, as you mentioned earlier, in terms of how exactly would the person feel? Certainly, we would imagine with something that is going to present with memory loss or poor cognitive function. And when we think of the cognitive decline, I know sometimes persons aren't exactly sure what we're talking about when we're talking about cognitive decline, but cognitive decline actually means that you're having an inability to actually perform your regular daily activity. And so if you're having anything that is going to cause you to, for example, you're not able to feed yourself, you're not able to shower, you're not able, and of course this happens over time. So it's not to say that this is, you know, we're having this and it's a stark change. With Alzheimer's disease, it actually happens over a long period of time, and most persons actually manifest symptoms, according to the Mayo Clinic, looking at 10 to 15 years after they've had the accumulation of plaque within the brain. So certainly it is a very long and progressive disease state. What I have to say is that yes, you are going to have some symptoms that you, in the little tag that I sent to you. And memory loss, short-term memory loss tends to be the first thing that persons do make note of. Of course, you will have other things. In fact, I wanted to highlight that there are 10 symptoms, the warning symptoms that person has in hand. I'm not sure if persons can, can see it there. And this actually was from the conference, and we're going to be incorporating this as well within our dialogue with persons. We do have it on an infographic, but I find that this smaller card is something very pocket friendly and good that persons can take around. So you see things there like the memory loss, you'll see communication difficulties, and of course when we're thinking of that, we're thinking, okay, am I remembering the name of this person? Do I recognize who this person is in front of me? You may have issues with spatial awareness, for example. Sometimes persons may go to the supermarket and they're trying to find a particular item, and of course there's confusion as it relates to that. Also, you can have lapses in judgment as well, which is why we always suggest to persons, if you have someone who is, and for the sake of argument, I would just use an older person, because you know usually when we think of Alzheimer's disease, we're thinking of persons over 65, but that doesn't mean that only persons over 65 obviously are going to be encumbered by this condition. We know we have younger onset dementia, which happens under 65, but what we try to have relatives and other members within community also make note of is if you have persons who are within your community and you realize that, you know, persons are coming into the home that you have never seen before, for example, make a note, ask a question, especially if the person lives alone, because sometimes you may have lapses in judgment, and we don't want to have persons being taken advantage of. And of course, we know most recently we would have had a lot of dialogue with respect to our updated legislation, and certainly in June we have Elder Abuse Month. So I just wanted to highlight that as one of the symptoms as well.
When these changes occur in our loved ones, we become impatient with them, because it's like, don't you get it? Snap right back. And so in that level of impatience, sometimes we only create worse situations for our loved ones. Let's talk a little about how we create a more friendly society in Barbados. So as we walk together with people of dementia or Alzheimer's, that we are more understanding, more compassionate.
Absolutely. Because, ultimately we are trying to create a dementia inclusive and friendly society. As we would have discussed on the last occasion, creating a dementia-friendly Barbadian society is really what we're all trying to do. And if we think of ourselves as a person who may be having some of these symptoms, the memory loss, having the cognitive decline, which of course is going to hamper our daily activity, it's going to come with psychological barrier as well. And certainly persons are going to be frustrated. They're going to be angry. You could understand bitterness. If I, as Kyla, I'm here in front of my daughter and I'm realizing that I'm not really sure who this person is. This person obviously is behaving as though they know exactly who I am. And so communication obviously becomes difficult, because I'm thinking, okay, well, this is a stranger in the house. Who is this person coming in here to attack me, for example? And of course, the daughter is going to be, why is my mother behaving like this? She doesn't remember who I am.
Yes.
And so it comes with a lot of angst, not only for the person with dementia, but obviously for the relative who is there. And so this is why communication is so important. And as you're quite right when you mentioned, Pearson, that sometimes we have to take a moment and have additional patience and compassion. Because if I am a person who has these symptoms, truth be told, we are very smart as well. And so sometimes when we do have the short-term memory loss, we can mask for our relatives. And sometimes people will say, I know that this person is doing, I know that they could remember this, and I know that we talked about this 5 and 6 times, but I know they're just trying to aggravate me. And that is, of course, not the case. It really is the condition. And so persons really need to remember the person as they would have been, and not just think about, I'm seeing them as this condition. One, in terms of you have memory loss and it's frustrating to me. 2, just because you have dementia, we discard you like if you don't have any, input and value. And these are the things we're trying to avoid, especially when we're thinking of the younger onset dementia. Of course, we're thinking of this for everyone, but particularly for those persons who are in the working environment. We don't want a situation where persons feel tossed aside and discarded. Remember, there's a very long progression, and so even at mild stages, there's still value to the person, and there's still things that they can be involved in, and they still want their independence.
Correct.
And there was so much in the conference that gave credit to this way of view, and certainly a global understanding, so that we can all work together for the benefit of the entire society at large.
Yesterday's episode of Coronation Street, my favorite series, as you know, still dealing with the subject of dementia, early onset dementia, as a matter of fact. And in yesterday's episode, the lady, her boyfriend, her husband, as a matter of fact, was just across from her, and she was like, "You, man, hello," trying to get his attention. So he came over to her, and she says, "What's your name?" And he, our usual thing is, "But you don't know my name." And all she says, "Just say your name."
Yes.
Just say your name. And when he said the name, she says, "Yes, that's it. But you were just frustrating me because you just wouldn't say your name." And, it's those kinds of things that we do to the individual with dementia,
which we must avoid.
We have to avoid it.
Yes, we have to avoid it.
In our change, this is what the change that we're talking about in a society, where we have to be more understanding.
Yes.
That it might be a momentary slip, but at the same time, we have to be patient enough to understand that this individual just wants to regain their sensibility, their grounding.
Exactly.
As well.
And their train of thought. Because most times we are going to, we know what we want to say, but unfortunately, because the word is slipping, the name is slipping, we cannot communicate. And so sometimes it becomes frustrating for the person as well. Because remember, in this memory loss, you're not only losing the persons who are in front of you and your relatives, but you're losing yourself. And you're losing yourself in real time. You're still alive while this is happening. I say all the time, this is grief and it's grief for a person who is still alive. And so we have to really understand, and this is where this compassionate care is coming in, because when we're communicating with a person, sometimes people think, okay, I am saying XYZ, but how you say it is also very important. And so sometimes, and at the conference, as I said, we heard from persons with dementia, and so, you know, they indicated people think that I don't have any value. They think I don't know what I'm doing. They just want to come in here and tell me how to spend money or tell me what to do and say that I have to do this at that time, and they are not, you know, it's not a collaboration. And we're saying that persons can still have input into their lives, and we all want to be independent. Name one person who is looking forward to, okay, I'm looking forward to when I'm completely dependent on another person. No one. Everybody wants to have a level of independence, and so we have to make sure that we're communicating in a way that is going to allow this to maintain.
So what is Barbados doing about making sure that people with Alzheimer's and dementia have that level of independence? We'll talk to Kyla a little bit more about that, the policies that she would want to agitate for, and just what are we doing as a society right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
This is where Barbadian football lives. Every Monday from 8:03 p.m., step onto the touchline. A 30-minute show featuring the BFA Premier League. Join Anmar Goodrich Boyce and Damien Best as they review the action, the goals, the grit, the glory, and the stories shaping the league. From kickoff to the final whistle, this is your front.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're spending some time with Kyla Branch, Executive Board Member of the Barbados Alzheimer's Association, because we're looking at this very serious subject, and it's happening more and more, and coming in, people are presenting younger and younger. But we want to understand then, what is Barbados doing about it? Having attended the World Conference, we want to know how we compare with the rest of the world and what is it that we're doing here. What can you say to that, Kyla?
Well, certainly, strengthening the global effort is absolutely important. And the conference actually wanted to focus not only on what persons are doing, but specifically align with the World Health Organization's plan for action as it relates to dementia. And so there were a number of areas that were envisioned, and we want to highlight, and I'm going to, just to ensure for conciseness, I will list exactly what they are. And of course, we will look at public health, awareness and friendliness, support for carers, diagnosis, treatment and care, which is quite important, risk reduction, which is very, very much important, information systems and research and innovation. And of course, with respect to what Barbados has been doing, we know that even from inception, awareness and education has primarily been the standing ground on which the association stands. Because at the end of the day, if you're not aware, you're not educated in what's happening, then how best can you treat the condition? How are you then going to best manage the condition? And what level of dialogue are you going to have with your healthcare practitioner? Because I know sometimes persons think, okay, I'm going to go in to the physician, they're just going to tell me what to do. The reality is that we all have to work hand in hand. It's a team effort, because we're not just thinking, what can we do for the person with dementia, but remember, this is something that affects us all, either directly or indirectly. And so from the stance of the association and the global conference, we tried to speak not only in terms of the public awareness and education, but we also spoke, obviously, I made a little note to that last time, of what we're doing in terms of youth promotion and initiatives, because we need younger people to, of course, be involved and aligned in all of our efforts. And I'm happy to say, one of the, and I like to give a lot of examples, but one of the 20 24 report, the global report by the Alzheimer's Disease International, suggested that 65% of healthcare practitioners still believed that Alzheimer's and dementia were normal parts of aging. And of course, if persons do believe that this is something that is normal and is going to happen, then the way that we treat to that may also be different. And so what we try to do as well as an association is to target the younger practitioners, so the Medical Student Association, obviously through the university FMS, which is the Faculty of Medical Sciences, to have engagement with those students, have engagement with the BCC, the paramedicals and the persons who are going out to emergency care, because they also have to be able to understand how to treat to the dementia patient. We're looking also to have engagement with the police service, especially because, you know, we are in situations of wandering in any emergency when persons come on to premises, or if they're dealing with a dementia patient. Even at the airport, actually, I did a presentation at the airport, and I recall that one of the persons there indicated that we had a tourist who came in and they were exhibiting some of these signs, and only because that person had gone to one of the programs and realized what warning symptoms they were like, okay, maybe this person is having issues with dementia. And then as it turned out, because of course the relative was quite frantic and they didn't know what to do, and you know, sometimes persons may be stigmatized and they don't want to tell people what's going on. But then that airport personnel was able to speak to them, pull them aside, create a situation of comfort and calm, which of course is what is necessary in these types of moments. And then they were able to then better handle that situation, which is good not only for the airport, but obviously, you know, that could have escalated into a very negative outcome for our tourism product in general. And so sometimes when people think about dementia, they just think, okay, we're thinking about this patient, but really and truly this affects everybody, directly, indirectly. So hence why we're doing so much education, and we're partnering with persons as well to ensure that we have these points covered. And I must say, and I know this is just a slight sticker pin, but before, I know there's so much to discuss with Alzheimer's and dementia, but I obviously would want to thank persons who have assisted with respect to my participation in the global conference, because to be honest, I couldn't be here having this conversation with you if I didn't attend the conference. Right. And so I just want to give, you know, complete gratitude to a number of persons. Lumi Holdings LLC, Williams Industries Inc., A1 Supermarkets, were very, very instrumental in assisting, and the Scottish Grand Lodge of Barbados were very instrumental, because of course without their support I would not have been able to attend. And so I really want to offer gratitude to them, and of course gratitude to the Barbados Alzheimer's Association as well, because ultimately if we were not all working as a team together, then certainly there will be nothing for me to highlight and have participation within.
There's a recent Elders Care policy that was passed in Parliament. Do you get a sense that it covers the needs of those with Alzheimer's and dementia, and that government is moving in the right direction to be able to make it a more inclusive space for people with dementia?
Yes, I have to tell you that, I mean, steps in the right direction, no matter how small they may be over time, they still get us to where we need to be. And so I am certainly very happy, and the association is very happy to see this legislation, because we do have to protect the elderly. We do have to protect the elderly, and I know that some persons are balking at, oh, the fines are so, you know, but the truth is you have to send a strong message. You really do have to send a strong message, and persons need to be to know that they're safe within their societies. I always speak to, and I think people who know me know that I am very strong when it comes to family, and I certainly think very carefully when it comes to my grandparents, for example. And I think sometime last year I had mentioned about my grandfather, and I'm always the first to say that when we're thinking of persons who are older, at the end of the day, if they had not tried their best, then we would not be here. And so no matter what relationship you may have with your particular relatives, there are other older persons who may have done things and paved the way. And so for that, we must all be thankful, because of course, without them, there would be no us. And I think that any society that does not take care of the vulnerable and the elderly are societies then that are destined for doom. And I think we see this time and time again, and I certainly would not want Barbados to retract into negative behaviors. I mean, people have so much to say on social media and so on, but we all have to work hand in hand to ensure that community base is maintained. And so definitely, I think that not only in terms of the protection for the elderly, financially and otherwise, but they're also looking at caregiver support as well, which of course is quite important, because there's so much that we can discuss.
And that caregiver support is what we want to talk about perhaps next time around, if you agree.
Yes.
She agrees.
Certainly.
All settled one time. So Kyla, thank you so much again for joining us and educating us, not just on the outcome of the conference, but reminding us of the things as people of society we need to be opening our eyes and ears and hearts to.
Absolutely.
So that we all can become a more friendly and inclusive society of people with dementia and Alzheimer's. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Pearson.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Kyla Branch, Executive Board Member of the Barbados Alzheimer's Association, not just reflecting on the conference, but just putting sharply in our focus again why we should all be a lot more aware, be educated, because we will encounter someone at any time, perhaps in every organization. It needs to be someone who is trained in being able to understand, first of all, and then manage situations where someone exhibits moments of Alzheimer's. It's a consideration. We'll take a break here. We're coming back with more in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
This is where Barbadian football lives. Every Monday from 8:03 p.m., step onto the touchline. A 30-minute show featuring the BFA Premier League. Join Anmar Goodrich Boyce and Damien Best as they review the action. The goals, the grit, the glory, and the stories shaping the league. From kickoff to the final whistle, this is your front row seat to Monday Night Football. Touchline, bringing you closer to the BFA Premier League. See you on the Touchline, live on TV8.
Touchline, sponsored by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after. And Powerade. Pause is power.
Preserve your personal priceless memories. Here at CBC, we transfer VHS, DVDs, Beta, U-matic, and DV cam tapes to modern digital formats. Safely, quickly, and affordably. Call CBC on 467-5437 to get started. In just 2 weeks, your memories will be ready to relive and share again.
Are you ready to turn it all the way up?
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
11 plus exam. Barbados Secondary School entrance examination. See, I prefer common entrance or 11 plus exam. That's coming up very, very soon. And our youngsters, just under 3,000 of them, will be preparing to sit that exam. And I know ahead of it, I know little ones who are 11 and heading for 11, you are thinking, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. Yes, we have to talk about it, parent, because you need to understand when your child is exhibiting that level of anxiety, sometimes don't talk about it is a level of a signal that something could be happening with your child, and that anxiety is raising its head. We could think of no one better to help us understand how to manage that process than the world's greatest pediatrician. I will continue giving her that nomenclature, in Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you?
I'm well today. How are you doing?
I am very good.
But I can imagine that there are children today who are preparing for that exam coming in at the beginning of May who are thinking, I ain't so good.
Yes. Children and their parents and caregivers tend to feel very, very stressed around this time. And it's very important for us to frame things correctly around that exam. It's not the end of your life. You really have to put things into perspective. We want our children calm and we want them reassured when it's time for that exam.
So we're going to walk through some information so that we understand that it's just to do your best, to do your best.
Yes.
So what then is exam stress?
Exam stress, I mean, how many of us have ever written an exam?
I remember that day well too.
Right? And so any exam that we write, and many of us have written lots of exams, you're going to feel a level of stress, which is completely normal before you sit an exam. But you don't want the child feeling excessively stressed to the point where they feel nervous, they are worried about what's going to happen before or during the exam. And we want to make sure that they are focused enough so that they're not going to forget what they've already been taught. So we need to look for signs of stress in our children, whether or not they are having symptoms we're not accustomed to. Are they suddenly having tummy pain they didn't have before? I don't want to go to school today. I'm tired, I can't get up out of bed. You may even see things like their bedwetting, which is something they may not have been doing before. And you really need to look out and pay attention to our children, especially at this time.
In other words, they're not going to say it.
Yes.
They will show it.
Yes.
But for the child who has always been quiet, and they don't communicate often, they just get on with it and get on with living. How do you spot it in that child?
So again, it's a change from what their normal baseline behavior is. And for anyone who's been around their child enough, even if they're quiet, they have a personality, and you as a parent or a caregiver is going to know that child and what is normal for them. And so any change from baseline, they are not interested in eating perhaps as much as they would have been. They are behaving perhaps more irritably or more aggressive. And we know that children are going to be much more anxious because they're going to be worried about how they perform in that exam. And so some of them are worried, am I going to pass this exam? Many of them are concerned because they get pressure from other people. And this is significant because we may not, as the family, be giving that child pressure, but other people may have expectations of them, and that can really create a problem. I remember a situation where there was a child who was expected, everybody was telling that family that, oh, that child is going to be in the top 10, that child is going to be in the top 10. The children kept telling that child, parents were telling that child, and that child put a lot of pressure on themselves that they were expected to perform. And so that really can affect a child's performance quite significantly.
I know that quite well.
Yes.
My older brothers went to Harrison College. I was boy number 3. I did not.
Right.
So I knew the expectation of me when the exam was coming around. So you have that pressure from failure, pressure from others, a lack of preparation. Sometimes you question whether or not you've done enough. You've just done enough. And then you say to yourself, even as today, but it's just about a week or so away.
Yes.
Am I really, really ready? And so
all of that can be a stress. But we know our teachers prepare our children very well for a long time in advance. And so I'm really not concerned that that's the case for most children. But they will compare themselves with others. Not everybody's going to perform at the same level in this exam. And that's okay, because we're all different people and we make a good society together. But they might say, okay, that person gets 100% in everything.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm coming along with 65%. I'm not good enough. We don't want our children thinking that way.
Or in class, in term, I was getting an 85, 90%, and I was suddenly done the mock exam, I'm getting only 65%.
Exactly.
Oh boy, am I dumbing down or not? And the parent then adds the pressure.
The parent adds the pressure. And I wish I could say I was not guilty in that sense, but as a parent, you want to feel that you've done the best for your child. And some children will take it more seriously than others or be more interested than others, let's just say, put it that way.
But parents, I hope you're listening, you're understanding why it is important. You recognize what you are also doing and what the child by its environment is experiencing, so you're able to help the child through it all.
Yes.
And sometimes we wring our hands because we don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do. And sometimes we take it out on the child. You
got that right.
Yes. We have not, why are you doing this at this stage? You should know better now, right? And really it's the parents' panic that they're then taking out on their child. And I think we have to be very aware of how we might unwittingly be contributing to the stress in our children.
You think it's that easy? Because again, we have the expectation of the neighbors, we have the expectation of the self, we have the expectation of the shame that we might feel, all those kinds of things. We did talk about trouble sleeping, headaches and stomach aches, difficulty, and the bedwetting. We talked about that as well. So those are some of the signs. Parents, if you're watching your screen, those are some things to look for. Whether the child has gone quiet. Now, in terms of study habits for the 11 plus.
Yes. So by now we're down to the last week. I remember vividly my son, this is a personal experience for me. This was my first common entrance, this traumatic experience so many parents go through as well. And in the last week, he wasn't doing his homework. And I said, but common entrance is next week. He said, well, if I don't know it yet, I won't know it now. And I said, this child has more wisdom than me. So we don't want to overburden them at this stage. We want them to be studying or revising in short spells, so we don't overwhelm them. We want to make sure that they take frequent breaks, and that includes playing. You must allow your child to have the stress relief of playing. It's incredibly important. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So it's particularly important that we remember that. So we want them to revise frequently, but not for excessively long spells. We want them to practice the questions. They've been doing this practice for over a long period of time. The teachers have really had them doing it. You want to encourage them, reassure them, and pour confidence into them in this home stretch.
That's important indeed. So those are some of the habits that you can do. Do some practice questions as well, which is okay, but don't stress them out. Allow them to play. Let them to have just a moment in time and breathe.
Yes.
And breathe as they go. And don't constantly remind you next week Tuesday.
Yes.
You know, don't do that to the child.
Protect them. Don't let the family members do that.
Yeah, either.
You
That's
might
right.
not be doing that, but you know, the neighbor might be. You have to really protect your children and keep them in a little bubble of calm, even as the storm is raging around them. Well, poor things. I mean, it's not their fault.
It is. It really is. Staying physically active as well is going to be important. We talked about play. We talk about sleep is the other thing because play is one thing. They like to play with their gadgets.
Yes.
And sometimes that can take them well up to midnight if you're not careful.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Let's talk about that.
So parents, I want to tell you that your precious little angels know where you keep those gadgets at night, and they know the code to get them. Okay? You need to make sure that you restrict your child's gadget use. Yes, they need the stress release of making sure that they play not just indoors but outdoors as well. But by a certain time that needs to come to an end, and you need to make sure you take those devices away, because if you don't, they're very addictive. And so they're going to get up in the middle of the night, and then they're not going to get that 8 to 10 hours of sleep. They need that sleep now. Now is not the time to keep them up till midnight or allow them to be up at midnight. They need that sleep right now.
Right now is important.
Yes.
Drinking water, of course, and again, eating healthy meals.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, so we need to fuel them up, make sure that they have those healthy meals, and this is the time now to make sure that they are active and they are getting all they need to sustain them on that day. Right. On the day, don't give them an excessively heavy breakfast. Make sure they eat well, and send them with snacks for in between so that they can refuel between the morning, the first paper and the next paper.
What's good brain food?
So good brain food would be things that they break down slowly over a period of time. So those complex carbohydrates is what we're really looking for. So whole grain foods is what you're looking for. You want to send them also with fruit, because there's the fiber there as well. You want to send them with some protein, which is going to help keep them full as well. So some eggs, some whole grain carbohydrates, and some fruit would be a great morning breakfast. Or of course, oatmeal, the Caribbean favorite.
I'm telling you, my grandmother was right. My grandmother was right. I didn't know this because that's what we did. Or each of us had that for breakfast before we took the exam.
Yes, they knew what was going on.
Yes, she was right. Bless her soul in heaven. And so there are a number of things also to help calm the mind. The anxiety we spoke about earlier. So deep breathing.
Yes. And they're simple deep breathing exercises that you can teach them. You can also make it fun. So a good example of a deep breathing exercise is to have them slowly inhale for 4 seconds and then to slowly exhale for 6 seconds. So you can just tell them slowly count to 4 and then slowly count to 6 as you breathe out. And you do that for a minute or two. And you can make it more fun with bubbles, for example. So when you slowly inhale for 4 seconds, you slowly blow out and see how many bubbles you can get out in 6 seconds. It takes their mind off, it breaks the cycle for a little bit, and it can really help. Just to calm them down. So, deep breathing exercises. Positive self-talk. I have worked hard for this exam. I can do it. This is something that really can help them to feel that they are ready. One thing at a time. We don't want them trying to do 6 things at once, which is going to confuse and scramble their little brains. And you have to model that calm behavior. You can't fake it. You have to model that calm behavior and let your child know that you have the confidence in them.
That's so important indeed. And having the confidence in them is not just your words alone.
Yes.
Because I told you I have the confidence in you. Don't you get it? But if you yourself remain calm,
yes,
then your child feeds off of that to realize, hey, you know, mommy, daddy, they don't, not that they don't feel away, but that they understand what I'm going through and that they recognize at this point in time, I will silently support you.
Yes.
I will silently support because I know you've put in the work to be able to achieve. And so because I'm comfortable with the work that you do, I know that you will simply do your best.
Yes.
That is all.
That is it. The focus is not on which school I pass for. The focus is on I have worked hard. You do your best, and I am satisfied with that as a parent.
There's someone saying to you, I hear you, Dr. Bertrand, but I have to deal with this child and all the others. Now, during the exam, it's important now to take your time.
Yes.
Take your time.
Yes.
And take your time. We tend to, there's some children who race.
Yes.
Because for the child, the duration they've never experienced before, in class is in class, but to sit in that classroom for just a moment to do an examination, to be told you have 1 hour, that feels like forever with them, or it just feels as if I need to finish the exam now. So how do we begin that? I guess practice papers would have helped where that's concerned.
Yes, and again, our teachers are fantastic about, you know, getting the children prepped and peaking at just the right time. But now is when the parents at home also want to remind them, and gently, again, not nagging to raise the stress level, you know, take your time to read the instructions carefully. They have done this a million times, it's not new. Start with the easier questions. If you reach a question that you feel concerned, I'm not really in the position to answer this question right now, don't waste time on it. Skip to the other questions and circle back to that question when you've finished all of the questions that you feel confident in doing, so you can give that question the additional time that is needed. And you also want to make sure you manage your time. The teachers have been harping on this. There will be clocks in all the exam centers. You just want to find out what your teachers have advised your child and reinforce that. And again, the emphasis is on you stay calm.
In other words, don't watch the other person. We tend to say, oh, one pen has gone on, one pencil has gone on, we figured, oh my goodness, then I might be doing something wrong.
Right.
That is not that. But the managing of the emotions of the parents after the exam.
Oh my goodness.
That's the other part too, because the expectation is that, okay, you've told me you've done X, Y, Z. I've heard other people saying YQF, and I wonder if you're wrong or are they wrong, and then it's taking so long to come back with results. Stress.
Yes.
And so that period of time post-examination, how do you want the parent to manage the child?
Distraction. It's over now. Okay, you've done it, you've done your best. I want you to just enjoy this time now. Let's have these activities that we've planned for afterwards. You know, we're going to go on outings, or, you know, we're going to enjoy ourselves doing these different things at home. And the children will look forward to that, keep them distracted. Don't wonder, oh my goodness, when are results coming out? Because you can't do anything to control that. Right? And so you need to make sure that you keep your children engaged in wholesome activity. They've just spent a lot of time using their brains, and so we want them to really relax, come back down to baseline. I also want to quickly talk about before the exam, the day of the exam. You know, we frequently see crowds of parents standing up outside. We understand that you want to support your child, but keep your child away from emotional parents.
Yes.
You're not going to serve your child well if you're breaking down in tears and having issues. You need to make sure that you bring your child as close to the time as possible when the parents walk inside, keeping them in that car, to when the children walk inside so they can stay away from all the panicking parents.
Leave the child alone. Thank you, Dr. Bertrand. Thank you so very much indeed. Dr. Gillian Bertrand, pediatrician, reminding us of some reasons why we need to keep our eyes and our hearts open to see when that child is expressing moments of anxiety and then what to do. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we're continuing more of the look at the preparation for the 11 plus in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Some ads What makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The 11 Plus exam is coming up on May the 5th this year, indeed. Just a matter of days away. And as we just shared with you, the anxiety the children feel. But let's understand a little bit about why it's important to do this exam. Joining us is experienced educator. We believe she's a very strong specialist indeed in what she does. Sandy Field-Kelman, our friend. Sandy, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson. And how are you today?
I'm well today. And yourself?
And after your holiday?
Even better.
Even better.
Let's talk a little bit about what this exam serves to do.
Okay, first of all, Pearson, I'm going to use some of the points that my parents used with me when I was doing it. Remember, at that time, it was a screening test and then the exam. But for me, I always try to impart to my parents. The parents sometimes inculcate this fear, this anxiety, this stress to the children, like say, months before. And instead of being calm and interacting with the child and engaging the child to understand that this is not the end of their life. It's only a stepping stone to the rest of their life. So I think that we need to rethink and look back at how we engage our teachers and our children with this exam. Teachers, to me, some of them, and parents are like competing for which school and how many marks this child, this class is going to get. I do not believe in that. I think that that day and the night before, I think that the children, one, should be in a calm environment. The parents should be very calm. A good night's rest, a proper breakfast, and not overeating. Not running to the bathroom often with the liquid, because remember during the exam, that child then will be running to the bathroom often. So you don't want that. Then when the child is leaving for the exam, hug that child, which should be done all the time. Right? Pray with that child and let the child know that whatever he or she does, that's their best. You know, and we place too much emphasis on this school thing. For me, a school is what you do, Pearson, when you go to that school, not the school. And I mean, we have lots of examples of people who went to schools maybe the parents didn't want them to attend and have come out and done very well. It's what you do when you get to that school, even if you went to school, as the old time people say, at the pipe. You know what I mean? So don't put that emphasis on the school. Make that child like months leading up, say like from last year. You know it's common entrance year coming up, and it is not a big deal. It's a day you go to the classroom and you do your best. For me, I would like to see the day where the child does the exam. I don't know if that's happening now, at the school that they attend.
No, they go to a secondary school to do it.
I do not really like that. Stay in your own environment where you are accustomed. So for me to go, say, from one school, my primary school, to another secondary school, sometimes children who are not confident, that fear of another environment, it's like it adds to the whole fear of the exam. So I would like to see the day come where children will sit that common entrance exam until it is coming to the end at the school that they attend, Pearson, because your ambiance and your environment has a lot to do with your mindset. And I really would like to see that.
I agree with you completely, but there's the placement then that comes from it because of the older and newer secondary schools. That happens a lot. You know, oftentimes the pressure is put on the child to go for a certain class of school as opposed to the other type of school, because in the mind of the parent and the society, each has a distinction. Let's talk about that and why we don't want our children to focus in that way.
I think, Pearson, that again, it has a lot to do with the relationship you have with your child or your children from an early age, because whatever we do, we give that child that thinking and that mindset of, you know, the distinction and where that child should go and so on. I think that the child, whatever that child is capable of doing, I mean, leading up to from preschool, you are not to put the pressure on that child. You know, you have to get 85 and 95% in English and mathematics to go or to attain that achievement, to go to a certain school. You let a child, for me, I think that a child should work at his or her own pace through their growing up. And if that child's marks are 70, whatever, 60, 50, of course, you know, everything, you know, personal is lessons, right? I am one that, yes, lessons, I went to lessons, yes, but I think sometimes it's overdone. And that alone too puts pressure on that child, right? Especially if the child is a child that's doing remedial work. You tend to find that that child, that parent wants that child to attain 70 and 80 when that child is really only 40 and 50%. So how are you going to get that done between, say, January? I have parents who call me in January to ask me, oh, you know, Sandy, can you give Pearson some lessons between now and May? What? Wave a magic wand and a miracle must happen? No, I don't believe in that. I personally think that whatever a child's attainment level and achievement is at that time when she or he is working, going through second class, class 2, class 3, class 4, you are to be satisfied, even though you're giving lessons, for what that child achieves. Because you cannot jump from 40% to 95% in 2-3 months or even a year sometimes. And I think that parents need to work with their children, Pearson, every week, every night with that child. You cannot do that, expect the teacher to do everything. It's a lot of work. So when that child comes home from school, you have to check that child's books and to see where that child is at that point in time. And if there are things you yourself don't understand, because remember, Pearson, things have changed a bit in teaching. So you as a parent might not know that method. Go and get some help for that. But you as a parent, you need to sit with that child Monday to Sunday, carve out some time and spend with that child to help that child attain those things that they're not getting in the school.
And understanding the processes.
Exactly.
We're talking in Barbados now about transformation of education. Where do you sit on this in terms of the whether it's the abolition or the change of the entry into secondary school?
I think not complete abolition. I like transformation because Pearson, it's a new world, it's a new child, it's a new brain, a new thinking, and we have to move on. But I am one that don't believe, and this is my opinion, I think we are too much into this technology. I believe in basics. Basics. You see, reading, your child might be able to do, the cat is on the mat. But with the technology that's happening now, some children do not understand that and still cannot attain that reading level. I still believe in the basics of reading, literacy. I believe in that. Yes, technology, because you can use technology to emphasize certain things and so on. But I believe the transformation side should come where we take our old programs. I do that. You can take simple things like nursery rhymes. Okay? That's not, at that time, it was not technology. And you can transform that into technology. Okay? To bring that over in child. You might not understand that, but in the teaching method, like Macmillan Sisters and Montessori method and so on, you can take simple things like nursery rhymes and transform that. So transformation is a good thing. But I think sometimes we go a little too far with it. And children who have remedial issues cannot always grasp that. Right. I still believe in the sitting and teaching the child the reading.
You're right. Because I think it's Scotland. The BBC was sharing this story just about a week last week, talking about, if it is Scotland, that they're now removing the tablets and so forth from the schools because they recognize it was not as effective as they thought it would have been.
And Pearson, I know it from teaching, and teaching reading especially, because that's my love. You know, you learnt with the West Indian reader, and so did I. And I really think that book should still be used, because children do not learn like how we learned.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have, that's why one-on-one is so important for children who cannot cope in a classroom. And I told you this last time, 10 and 15 children in a classroom is unfair to that child. Okay, all of us have talent to be able to read and to be literate. All of us have proven it. So I'm saying that those basic things with a child sitting, the cat is on the mat, the dog is in the pan, all those types of things, you know, the sun is up. You teach those things and using phonetics. I don't know if you know about phonetics, the phonemic awareness. That is so important. And to me, a lot of those things are not necessary technology. I still believe in the human aspect, the parent, the child to the teacher to the child. I really do believe in that. And when that child has grasped those basics, those fundamentals in reading, you would find that child down the road will become a reader. But we have to start in the cradle, Pearson.
Indeed.
Cradle and preschool, that's where it starts. You have to have a lot of, you know, conversation, communication. Are we communicating today? No. How are you? Good. No, you're not good. I'm fine, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, all of those things. But we're communicating using text and abbreviations, which is unfortunate. But Sandy, the time ran out.
Are you ready?
Already. We have to talk about this a little bit more, because I think you have a perspective I think we need to delve in deeper into. All right? So
I have lots of perspectives.
Yes, ma'am.
Lots.
Thank you so much as always.
Thank you also for having me.
You're welcome. Experienced educator Sandy Field-Kelman with a view of our education system today, but as we prepare for the Common Interest exam, reminding us, let the child rest. Give them a good, healthy breakfast. Give them their hug. Send them smartly along. Don't stress them out. All of those things. These are the things you know. And perhaps another occasion we can look again at how we can look at transformation of education and the things that we need to consider when we really get deeper into the planning for that transformation. Morning Barbados takes a break right here. We're coming back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affairs segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
This is where Barbadian...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's look at the news now. President of the Alliance Owners of Public Transport, Roy Raphael, is cautioning the public service vehicle operators to conduct themselves with discipline as they ply their trade on our roads. He was speaking against the backdrop of a video making rounds on social media which shows two drivers engaging in what has been described as a case of road rage. While the circumstances which led to that incident are unknown, CBC News understands that the two drivers have since been suspended and the matter is under investigation. Raphael says the number of complaints for those in the sector is worrisome to the AOPT.
The time has come that we will need to meet very shortly with the PSB owners to see if we can get together to see what exactly is happening there. So I'm encouraging those drivers and owners, get their act together and do not allow the government of Barbados with a new minister come up with more stringent measures upon the sector. It will not going to be very good for us.
Mr. Raphael is also urging those operators who have not yet done so far to attend the mandatory training at the Gene and Norma Holder Institute.
Everybody have not attended the training program. That's one thing. And secondly, I'm not sure where we are right now as related to the training program. All we can say is that we are encouraging those persons to go back to training, right? And we would like them to take on the training as some form of that will encourage them, basically as part of the government plan to reform the sector.
Renewable energy is not displacing fossil fuels fast enough. That's the view of a special advisor to the United Nations Secretary General on Climate Action and Just in Transition, Selwyn Hart, who says while the transition is accelerating, it remains uneven and deeply unequal. He was speaking during the first conference on transitioning away from fossil fuels hosted by the Colombia and the Netherlands.
Thus far, the transition is highly concentrated in the advanced economies in China, leaving most of the developing world behind. Nowhere is this injustice more stark than in Africa. 60% of the world's best solar potential, 30% of the critical minerals needed for the energy transition, and just 2% of global clean energy investment.
Mr. Hart told the conference that the country's risk task is to navigate the pathway together, and he notes the Secretary General has called for the creation of a global platform for dialogue on transitioning away from fossil fuels.
Not another talking shop, but a sustained, action-oriented platform for problem solving. A platform to bring together governments, energy producers and consumers, civil society, including youth, labor, and indigenous people, as well as industry, finance, and international institutions to confront the real barriers slowing progress.
Well, there is concern that too many Barbadian workers are struggling with excessive workloads, long hours, workplace bullying, a lack of support, and job security. It's coming from Chair of the National Mental Health Commission, Dr. Maisha Emmanuel, as Barbados observes World Day for Safety and Health at Work. Dr. Emmanuel called on employers to recognize that mental health is not separate from workplace safety.
Poor mental health in the workplace creates significant safety risks. Stress, anxiety, and depression reduce concentration, slow reaction times, impaired judgment, and decrease situational awareness, all factors which can lead to workplace accidents and injuries. Workers experiencing mental health challenges are at a greater risk of making errors, having accidents, and being unable to respond effectively to emergencies.
So now, Barbados Pride are into the playoffs of the West Indies four-day championship. Yesterday, a 5-wicket haul from Joshua Bishop led the Bajans to defeat the host Jamaica Scorpions by an innings and 11 runs within 3 days. Resuming the final preliminary match at Sabina Park on 22 for 1 in their second innings, Scorpions were eventually dismissed for 286. Bishop claimed 5 for 72, while there were half-centuries of 73 from Odin Smith and 63 from Brandon King. Here are the highlights.
Goes to the big swing again. Appeal for a leg before that is the end of Brad Barnes.
So the scores in that match: the Pride, Barbados Pride, 439, the Scorpions 142 and 286. That's a look at news and sports until now. We'll have more news and sports coming up at 12 noon right here on TV8. Morning Barbados is back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
This is where Barbadian football lives. Every Monday from 8:03 p.m., step onto the touchline. A 30-minute show featuring the BFA Premier League. Join Anmar Goodrich Boyce and Damien Best as they review the action. The goals, the grit, the glory, and the stories shaping the league. From kickoff to the final whistle, this is your front row seat to Monday Night Football. Touchline, bringing you closer to the BFA Premier League. See you on the touchline, live on TV8.
Touchline, sponsored by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after. And Powerade. Pause is power.
Preserve your personal priceless memories. Here at CBC, we transfer VHS, DVDs, Beta, U-matic and DV cam tapes to modern digital formats. Safely, quickly and affordably. Call CBC on 467-5437 to get started. In just 2 weeks, your memories will be ready to relive and share again.
Are you ready to turn it all the way up? We make you feel good. Your #1 party station. Non-stop hits and the latest trends in music, fashion, and everything lit. Hit us up on socials at 981 Barbados on IG and 98.1 The One on Facebook. This is your world. Your playlist, your station. 98.1, The One.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the
morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
With 13 and a half minutes now after 7 o'clock, as you know, Labor Day is coming up on May the 1st, when Barbados stops for just a moment to celebrate not just the contribution of labor to Barbados development, but just to, again, look at what's happening within the workplace and see how we can better adjust to make the workplace one that's far more productive and everyone thrives and survives. And so we thought we should have with us a member from HERMAB to help us get a greater perspective on what's happening in workplaces today from the HR's perspective. So joining us this morning is the Committee Chair for Labour Management and HERMAB in herself, Patricia White. Ms. White, good morning.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking first, but how are you?
I'm doing well too.
All right. You're tasked as a member of the HR committee to oftentimes look at what's the goings on. And you're often called into action when there's concern, there's a struggle, there's a problem. But there's some things that we have to do to mitigate against those problems occurring in the first place by creating a platform. What challenges HR practitioners today in workplaces in creating that enabling environment?
Some of the challenges that we're finding is person's level of openness to actually speak on these issues. So you're talking about mental health and so on, right? So I find that there's still this stigma occurring where it comes to mental health, and people believe that they'll be ridiculed. Some still are. So the challenges that we're facing are people not being open, and some people, leaders, not being open actually to listening to that. So we have to change the mindsets where we use a preventative model. We build our policies out that inculcates in people that you can come, we're open to listening to any of the mental health challenges, set up in the environment, the culture, the workspace, an area where people can seek help. So employee assistance programs, there are a lot of companies who don't do that. I would encourage them to start to focus on building out employee assistance programs. And if you don't know how to do it, you get the help to teach you how to do it.
I keep saying membership to HERMAB brings benefits, and that's why we get help to know how to do it.
It surely does.
But the worker today is also challenged by feeling a sense of displacement by technology. Is that a concern for HERMAB?
It's a concern for everyone, to be honest. If you're being realistic, it's a concern for everyone. But I want people to change your mindset and not see technology and AI, because I know it really borders on the whole fear with AI. Not seeing AI as an issue, but as a tool to assist. It can help with things like enhancing data analysis and so on. That can be very laborious, especially for us who know who do research. That can be time consuming. So you can show people how to use AI, that it can benefit and not displace people.
But at the same time, one has to be guarded not to plagiarize.
It's true.
Especially in my environment.
That is a big concern for me.
Exactly. And so policy is going to be critical. And so the worker need not fear of their relevance. But in the absence of a policy, you might fear, but it's certainly the policy helps one feel a whole lot more comfortable.
Not only policy person, you treat it, if you're going to introduce AI as a tool for working, you treat it in the same manner that you would do any change in the organization through change management principles, which means you engage with the employee, you explain to them the need for it, you tell them how the process will work, what role it will play alongside, juxtaposed to what their role is. That is how you do it. So you employ the same change management principles that you would do any major change in an organization. I find that helps people to accept it more. You get less resistance, and then train them. Train people. You go through change management training and so on, and that helps people to accept the change.
Have the conversation, explain the why, explain the benefits, and
the how.
Your training, and the how, and do your training, and of course, keep in step with while the training is going on and the practice in that particular need shift. All right, good. Work-life balance. Yeah.
I love.
So let me talk about that now.
Yes, no problem. So work-life balance in what way? So in what way? You mean with everything or with
every way? Because there are people who are challenged by the struggles of life, one, and sometimes they just want to be able to have a little time to self. The expectation by the employer is, I want all out of you. So whether or not you have to cut and reduce the amount of time for yourself so I can get what I want done, then you do that.
Yes. So I would say it comes down to the culture that you have built into your workplace. Really and truthfully, yes, you want maximum productivity, but it should not come at the expense of having a person working really long hours that there's no work-life balance. The reason that there's a period of rest is so that your body can recuperate, and it all goes back to the whole mental health thing and all of that. How can you have good and sound mental health if you're working 8 hours at work, then you go home, you shower, you feed the kids or whatever, and then you take back up the work again, you're working all throughout the night. So we have to build that culture in work itself so that when people are at work, yes, they work, but you encourage them to take their lunch. People sit at the desk and still eating at work, and I was guilty of that.
I am guilty
I was guilty of that, but I learned the hard way. The body collects after, the body keeps the score. So we as leaders, we need to encourage people to take their lunch. It is time to come down and relax and get your mind fresh again. Encourage people to take their vacation that is owed to them. So I know people put off, a lot of leaders push back vacation. A lot of employees are resistant to going on vacation. But I will say, do not encourage a culture of that. Let people take the leave that is owed to them, and let them go off and recuperate and come back fresh.
Let's look at that balance within the context of remote work. COVID taught us that, the hybrid situation can occur. But there are things that people have not put in place to ensure that we don't infringe on the workers'
rights. That is the issue right there.
So let's talk about that.
Right. So before you talk about putting people on remote work, the first thing that should occur is that you settle a proper policy, a proper remote work policy that sets the expectations. Along with doing that is setting up what the hours should look like. If it is a case, I know there's some jobs that if you're doing it, you're on calls all day, you have set hours. There are other types of work that is project-based work. For the ones that are project-based work, you focus mainly on the outputs rather than talking about, you know, I want you here 8 to 5, or I want you on the system 8 to 5. If it is project-based work where there's a level of flexibility, you set those terms clearly and you look at outputs. If it is hours, you maintain the same kind of hours that you would do when you are in an office. You wouldn't expect a person in the office to work 15, 16 hours straight. So you set the expectations from early on, and as the employers and as the leaders, respect people's time. I wouldn't expect you to call them at 12 a.m. in the morning. I wouldn't expect you to call them at 4 a.m. in the morning unless that is their assigned shift in an 8-hour period.
Oftentimes the thinking is, because I can't eyeball you, you must be wasting time. You must be home dilly-dallying. You have gone to the supermarket, to the shops, wherever, and come home, you're cooking. And you're not spending time actively in my work. In the office, I can control that. I can see you.
So, and I was about to tell you, if that is the concern, then it's a control issue. It's a control issue and not really an output issue, right? And then we have to look at ourselves as leaders and determine what is the concern that we have. If that is what is controlling you, what is the concern that we have as leaders? Is Pearson not doing the work? Has he had a history of not performing? That is where performance management comes in as well too, because you look at how the person is performing, you set the clear performance metrics. This is how I will be measuring your performance, Pearson, when you work remotely, so that you understand what I expect of you. You set the criteria for who can work remotely as well, because not every job can be performed remotely. And the ones that can be, you set the tone and tell them what the expectations are. I still expect you to maintain contact. Don't disappear for 3 days. However, I can't be watching you constantly. We have hired adults, not children. And it is our duty as leaders to manage it properly, manage the performance properly without micromanagement. There's a major difference.
Is it okay to say, you know what, I have you on remote work, but you have to come right back into the office because I'm not satisfied with your performance?
Yes, but you have to be very careful with doing that. You set those terms early on. When you're doing a remote policy and the agreement to work remotely, you set the terms that, listen, this is the criteria for working remotely, and you have to perform, and at any point I see the performance is dropping because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you're going to have to come back into the office. I will tell employers to play it safely and have a hybrid model where it sets the expectation that you can be remote sometimes and you can come in the office sometimes, so that people don't have it in their minds, I'm a strict remote worker, and then you have challenges having them come back out. So I would say I always advise people to set it up as hybrid.
Let's look at contracts, because more and more people are being put on contract work as opposed to what we formerly would have known before as full-time. Let's talk a little bit about that and the challenges that not just the laborer faces, but the HR practitioner faces as well.
Right. So the challenge that HR face with that is the management of those contracts, because you have to manage those tightly, to be quite honest with you, to ensure, you know, that everything is fair and balanced. But I will say, I know people are against contract work, and I get why many may be against it, because it makes it difficult for people to get loans and, you know, those types of things. It impacts upon their security. Let's be real, it does. However, to be fair, there are some jobs that you have no choice. By the very nature of the job, some businesses, by the very nature of the business, you have to do the contract work. Seasonal companies that have seasonal work. It makes no sense giving a full-time contract for a seasonal position that will only last about 6 months, because then now that is another body, it becomes a millstone around the companies. There is another body where you have to pay wages to, and there's no input, you know, to offset that. So I know it's a challenge, and I advise people where possible, if it's a full-time role, give the person a full-time contract. However, if it is a role that is seasonal and is temporary, it really makes no sense logistically and operationally and for profitability. It makes no sense really giving a full-time contract if the role is seasonal and will only last 6 months.
Let's talk about the difference of contract of and contract for services.
So one is really where, same thing, where you're doing a project work, and you really are focusing on hiring that person to do that project, and when the project is over, it is done.
That's contract for.
The other one is where you are hiring the person basically full-time, is a position in the organization, and they're expected to really perform that position long-term.
Does full-time have a timeline on it?
Not really, because in reality, but sorry, we should say full-time, permanent and full-time. So full-time is really the standard 8 hours, whatever the company views it to be. So the standard 8 hours of work, right?
So it could be standard 8 hours for 2 years, or standard 8 hours until
whenever. Correct.
So,
so you can be full-time on a on a temporary contract. You know that, right?
No.
You can be full-time, meaning you're working 8 straight hours, but it is a temporary contract.
As in time bound.
Yes.
And full time without the time on it is to retirement.
Correct.
That's a different one.
Correct.
All right. I get in there with you, see? And so I'm understanding this a whole lot. As it relates to, we have so many different little challenges, not just for health and safety, but people just feel upset about what are some of the concerns that come to her map from workers about their status or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to give term to it, but what are some of the concerns?
Right. So you mean with in terms of the contracts, the type of contract they're on?
Not just contracts, but anything.
Anything. So some of the concerns, again, the job security. People are concerned about job security. Pay is always a hot topic. The balancing of the rates of pay now with the cost of living, that's a major one. The minimum wage. Yeah. People are very concerned about the minimum wage. It is always a hot topic. People are concerned about, in general, psychological safety at work, feeling safe and feeling comfortable in the workspace. And like you mentioned earlier about workplace bullying, we're finding a lot of discussions centered around workplace bullying, people not treating people in a manner that you would expect as adults. Those are some of the key topics that are coming up, a lot of key concerns that are coming up from workers.
And as chair of the committee, what concerns her map as it relates to the practice of HR in companies today? Sometimes HR can get it wrong. So
we're human.
Then what concerns y'all humans?
What concerns us is really we want to operate in a manner that supports both the employees and the employers, right? You can find a balance. I know people think that is one or the other, but you can find a balance. And our concern really is to make sure that we operate ethically and find that balance.
But you got to get it right. It still has to be in alignment with the laws of the land.
Exactly.
Part of that law of the land is how you handle the workers' union. Whoever that might be. And sometimes HR is drawn right into that debacle.
We are.
All the time. You have to try to find a happy medium for everybody.
Right.
What do you say to HR practitioners today as it relates to treatment of that relationship with the unions?
The message I first want to get out is that the engagement, the relationship is not only, the onus is not only on HR. The onus is on all parties involved in the engagement, including the union. So you have HR and the organization that they're party to that engagement. The union also is. So what I would say is that you approach any engagement. It could be negotiations, it could be grievance handling, it could be disciplinary processes. You approach that in good faith, meaning that you try to operate ethically, you try to operate fairly, and you come with the open mindset that you're going to listen and work through the issues. That to me is how you foster a good relationship. But I don't want the message to be that the onus is only on the organization. Don't come with conflict and be combative at the start. Come with an open mind and to operate in good faith at the outset. Conflict can occur, but it should not be the first step to engagement. Everybody has a role to play in that engagement to make sure it runs smoothly.
And that's why I suppose it's important that HR is a part of the discussion at the C-suite, at the table when it comes to those kinds of things. We often wait for the general manager or the head of the organization to make a determination, and then HR carries it out.
Yeah.
But you want to be a part of the input from the very beginning.
Be a strategic partner, and I'm a chief proponent for that. I find oftentimes HR is brought in at the end point. People believe HR may know everything, and a lot of times we do not. You're brought in at the end point when everything has gone wrong now, and we're tasked to now correct it. And by that time, the problem may be so far gone that it's hard to pull it back. And I always tell people, I always tell leaders, have HR seated at that table. And you're seeing a change now, though. A lot of companies are having HR sit at the table as a strategic partner, where we discuss from very early on. We know the plans from very early on, and we can tell you this is what will cause an issue further down the line, and we're able to mitigate that and help things to run smoothly.
And I think it's important because when you do your strategic plans, you cost it.
Yes.
And so we tend to cost equipment, we cost materials, we cost all of those things.
But we don't cost the risk.
There you go.
Yep.
So talk to it from that perspective, so that employers who are watching, who run organizations, who may not understand the relevance of having the HR in that boardroom, why they should pay attention from the perspective of cost.
Right. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say the organization wants to come up now with a new process, and that process may cause an issue with, let me say, with discipline. You move forward, you have managers decided, okay, I'm just going to give Pearson a written warning. I believe he's done something wrong. I'm going to give him a written warning. And he goes ahead and he puts that on the person's file. He doesn't follow the correct process, which if HR was in that room, they would tell you there is a process that has to be followed and it's somewhat linear. If you don't follow that process, what happens? You then end up with an unfair dismissal claim. You then end up before the ERT and it can cost you thousands of dollars. It could be 6 figures. So from that base is a very rudimentary example, but it is a good example to help you understand if HR is not seated there with you to understand where you want to go and to guide and direct you on the risk. This is what it can cost you.
It requires you to listen, though, to HR.
That is one of the main concerns.
You can sit and say, oh, I hear you, HR, but if I don't take this action, I'm diminished in value in the eyes of everyone else in the organization. But true. HR is saying to you, but there is a cost if you bear this little failure, but next time you don't make that error again. So it's to listen to HR, to give HR the respect.
That is the critical. That is the critical point. Yeah, that is the critical point.
There's so much more we could delve into.
It's a lot, you know. We can spend weeks and weeks.
Listen, don't start me up. Don't start Pearson up. But I want to thank you so very much for joining me this morning, at least ahead of Labor Day. Because there are lots of things the employee needs to understand because it's a relationship. An employee, you're not always right. You're not always right. And HR, you two are not always right. But it's important that we both have that kind of a relationship so that together we can make things happen. Because
dialogue is critical.
Precisely, because in that dialogue, one can say, you know what, all right, we'll work this out together. As opposed to, you know what, I'll hold my ground, I'll take you to court. And sometimes we need to avoid all of that. And that's what you helped us understand today, Patricia.
Thank you
so very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And remember, HR is important. HERMAP is also equally important. It's an organization of experienced people with background in all of this. And so membership brings benefits. Be a member today. We're taking a break here on Morning Barbados. We're back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affairs segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
This is where Barbadian football lives. Every Monday from 8:03 p.m., step onto the touchline. A 30-minute show featuring the BFA Premier League. Join Anmar Goodrich Boyce and Damien Best as they review the action, the goals, the grit, the glory, and the stories shaping the league. From kickoff to the final whistle, this is your front row seat to Monday Night Football. Touchline, bringing you closer to the BFA Premier League. See you on the Touchline, live on TV8.
Touchline, sponsored by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after. And Powerade. Pause is power.
Preserve your personal priceless memories. Here at CBC, we transfer VHS, DVDs, Beta, U-matic, and DV cam tapes to modern digital formats. Safely, quickly, and affordably. Call CBC on 467-5437 to get started. In just 2 weeks, your memories will be ready to relive and share again.
Are you ready to turn it all the way up? We make you feel good, your #1 party station. Non-stop hits and the latest trends in music, fashion, and everything lit. Hit us up on socials at 981 Barbados on IG and 98.1 The One on Facebook. This is your world, your playlist, your station. 98.1 The One.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 24 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock, and boy oh boy, on this Wednesday morning, I've been talking about this, it feels like forever, and I do that when I'm excited about something. The Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation's $20 challenge, I have met some inspiring, outstanding young people, and they are thriving. And they're thriving not because of themselves, but because of you. But they're also thriving because of what I call the engine that's turning beneath all of this. And so some of the faces behind those parts of the engine are joining me right now. I have the woman who is the representative of the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation, Celeste Foster. Good morning, Celeste. Good to have you. Good. You're welcome. Next to you is Kristen Austin, who's one of those who's partnered with this outstanding challenge indeed, and we're seeing the fruits thereof. She is the brands developer at Brides Caribbean. Yes. Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Across from me is Damien Branford, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Aventa Barbados. And I know you ask yourself, huh? Think Collins Limited. Aventa Barbados. And if you look at this color of his shirt and the logo of his shirt, you know right away this is Scotiabank we're talking about. And so representing Scotiabank, Haggett Hall branch in particular, is Ryan Carrington. Ryan, good morning to you as well.
Good morning, thank you.
Celeste, I was telling you before we went live on the air, boy oh boy, what an outstanding crop of young people we have out there doing phenomenal things in this challenge. Are you equally amazed and taken aback by it?
I am. I truly am amazed. And every year, the stakeholders keep telling me it's getting better and better. And you keep asking $20.
Yes.
And what we are realizing, it really has nothing to do with the $20. It has all to do with the ingenuity of those young people.
That's right. I wanted them to shift away from the value, what they perceive as the value, the amount, and look at the true value of that investment. And they have done tremendous things with it. I didn't know at the time that they could have simply said, no, I don't want the investment, I don't want the loan, I can do it on my own. And then there's some who've taken the loan but paid it back. And what does that teach them?
For us, the challenge is not about $20. The challenge really is about looking at business through a holistic lens. Some people bootstrap, some people get investment. The reality is that perhaps 95% of all businesses start with less capital than they really need. And that is the essence of the challenge. And then how do you navigate limited resources to be able to achieve your outcome? And I think these young people have demonstrated, because if you look at the variety of businesses, that the resources that it takes to run a business is more than just money. They talk to you about the time, the commitment, the planning that has to go into it, how they have built, how a social media presence. And right now, just let me put this here, we have our People's Choice Award up and running, and we have over 1,400 people who've cast votes. So go on our socials and vote for one of those 10 amazing businesses, because these young people have shown that with a little and an idea, you can turn it into so much more and set up a pathway for life.
In talking to them over the weeks, you know, to hear their story from that little idea, as you said, to success, It's truly been phenomenal, but they don't do it alone. They have partners, and you have partners as well in helping them to be able to achieve the success that they have been able to achieve. So talk to me about who you brought here as partners and their value.
So for us, it takes a community. It takes a network. You know, many years ago, you heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I say it takes a network to build our $20 challenge community. And in our network, we have McBride Caribbean, who came on 2 years ago, now stepped into the gold sponsor space, and they have really been phenomenal. All of our partners are great. Yes. I mean, they really are, and they're normally long-standing partners. So McBride has stepped in, and they would have introduced, this year we had what we call our refresher. And our refresher was a time in January for our teachers, our ambassadors to pause and relax, and they had a wonderful afternoon of just being refreshed. And then we have our Aventa team. Aventa came on a few years ago, and they have been phenomenal. They have led the charge with regard to internship. There's a whole story about how they have had one of our students who won last year, a finalist as an intern, who in her gap year spent the entire year working through the entire company of Aventa. And we have our perennial sponsor over a decade, Scotiabank, who has really been an anchor for our program. And before you get to talk to the others, I just want to talk a little bit by mention. We have a new award this year. The Export Potential Award.
The Export Potential Award, wow.
And that award was conceptualized because when we talk about a partnership, we really do mean a partnership. Our partners sit with us and help us to envision what the future could be for this challenge. So this year, McBride brought to us the Export Potential Award.
So, Kristen, let me talk about this for a second.
Yes.
You're relatively new, but in comparison with the others who are here with us.
Yes.
The decision to join this drive, this movement with the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation, I know you will say to me it was a no-brainer. But what was it that caused McBride to say, I want to be a part?
We really value and appreciate the values of the $20 challenge. It really resonates with us as a company, helping young persons build those real world skills, get that real world experience, building their confidence, allowing them to make those on the spot business decisions, and that's something that we really value at McBride as well. So whether the students go on to working in another organization or they maintain their their own business, that's something that we really value. We want to assist them with that. So that was the reason behind it.
And you brought something fresh, as Celeste said, in this export potential. Let's talk about that and why you think this is critical at this time to do so.
Okay, so McBride, we are a manufacturing company. We manufacture household products right here in Barbados. So most of our products are manufactured here in Barbados, and then we export about 90% of those across the Caribbean and Latin America. So we understand the challenges that can come with export, and the award really was to recognize that business, those students who have the greatest potential to export beyond Barbados. We want them to think of more of a regional or global mindset rather than just being stuck here on our small rock. And that was the reasoning behind this. So we've partnered with Export Barbados, and we are going to give the winner, a chance to have that mentorship from an export professional. A professional. We will help them with their brand update, so building a brand image, helping them with the product and the packaging, also helping them with financial guidance on how to build their product for that global scale.
Wow, that is a phenomenal input that you've shared with them today. I'm sure a lot of our little teens, they're teenagers. No, this was not happening for me. This is so unfair, but nonetheless, I'm so proud of each of them. But to be able to give them that opportunity, because all of them do have a global mindset. They just don't know how.
Yes.
And as young as they are, to give them that opportunity, I think is so very important. Thank you, McBride. Thank you, Radine. Aventa, you did something different. You took the winner and you gave the winner a year walking through Aventa's business, basically, and understanding how businesses work. Why that decision?
Yeah, thank you, Pearson. Aventa Barbados Limited is involved in the wholesale and distribution of pharmaceutical products across the island as well as regionally. One of the strategic areas of focus that we undertook when ownership changed in December 2022 was to focus on areas that had an innovative impact as well as areas that had a community impact. And our partnership with the BEF Foundation tick both of those boxes. Along with that impact, it also allowed us to be part of the growth and development of young individuals within society. And when you marry all of those Pearson together, you have a significant impact in terms of the guidance of these individuals through learning innovation as a way of life and growth and development, as well as the community impact when they take those initiatives back into their communities and they contribute in a positive way within that environment.
That's a very strong brand promise. I like it indeed. And so with all the youngsters who are part of this, the 10 finalists, they've always spoken about what they have done in giving back, in being a part of it. But the internship that the winner from last year would have shown them through all of the business strategies, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is also a phenomenal impact for us because not only did we contribute financially, the internship allows us to take that a little further, where these persons go through the different functions within the organization and they participated from retail, which is within our retail arm, to our wholesale umbrella, and also had a stint as part of our sister company, Carlisle Laboratories, to get a little exposure as it relates to the manufacturing component. So the partnership with the BEF has been phenomenal for us.
So now I'm curious, what's the report having completed this internship? What can you say?
What I can say is really good feedback, primarily because the folks who we brought into the environment demonstrated good attitudes, a willingness to learn, a willingness to understand the business environment. And for us that is phenomenal because you can see the growth, you can see the development, and you can see the real impact that the program is having as it relates to young children within the environment.
And that's the point. Damien, well done at Aventa, well done. But Ryan, Scotiabank has been there from almost step one.
Yes.
Step one. Why is Scotiabank so invested in this challenge?
Well, thank you, Pearson. I think Scotiabank has been very much invested in this. I would call it a project because it's all in development right now. We see it grow every single year in terms of the ingenuity, in terms of the innovation. But Scotiabank, I believe that one of our core purposes is really to build on futures.
Yes.
So when I say build on futures, that means how do we get persons to really explore their full potential? How do we build economic resilience? And that's something that we see through this program, the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation's $20 challenge, and that's something that we want to continue with. Now, that says a lot in a nutshell. So to expand a bit, I'll just say that the $20 challenge really has put us in a position where we're able to explore some opportunities with the young entrepreneurs, where we can see they build on those overall potentials that they have. And we're seeing it being borne out in the projects that have come to light and where we are today. So I want to say that it's something that we will definitely continue to watch and to nurture to as well.
Banking is more than money management. Yes. That's the whole point. I think that's strong for me as well as the Scotiabank's involvement. You don't just teach them how to do debits and credits.
No.
Money in, money out, and understanding the interest rates and so forth. You teach them about management of self as well, because the character of the individual is critical to how the business proceeds. And so how did you do it? Did you have workshops and the like? How did it work?
Yes, the funding that we provide is not the be-all and end-all of it. It comes also to our contributions in terms of what we call our Scotiabank employees, Scotiabankers. So Scotiabankers are also involved in the judging process, mentorship, involved also in terms of workshop facilitations. So in many respects, bringing real life situations into the classroom so that they themselves can take that and help to build out communities, build out their entire families and the wider economy. So definitely.
Well, and you've been doing this how long now? How many years?
Well, over 10 years. Over 10 years.
Just a little bit. Over 10 years. And it's worth it. That's the whole point. It's worth it. And that's why Scotiabank continues to be there.
Yes.
But Kristen, you understand you had a session for facilitators and teachers as well?
Yes. So McBride would have sponsored the Midpoint Energizer. So that was in January, as you mentioned, kind of at the midpoint in the challenge.
Right.
Just to give the teachers and the facilitators, the ambassadors, that chance to refresh, go back into the second half, revitalize, and just let them know how important they are to the whole challenge. They really do provide the support to the students, and we wanted to let them know that, that they are appreciated.
Well, we appreciate your input indeed. And so Celeste, here we are now. The final presentation is this weekend coming?
The finals, where we get to celebrate and award our students. Once you get to the finals, everybody's a winner.
Right.
Every single team gets something. So this is big for us. So we've had our final debrief. They're out there getting their votes in, over 1,400 votes already docked.
Yes.
And we get the opportunity, and this is a program where we celebrate the school, we celebrate the teachers, we celebrate the ambassadors. So beyond our sponsors here, the Teacher of the Year, for instance, gets a staycation sponsored by Pirates Inn. And some of the other prizes would include Quartz Barbados has donated a 65-inch TV for the School of the Year. I mean, we have Fortress Fund managers who have given Fortress Mutual Funds because it's a business competition. So our young people are going to be receiving their first injection into mutual funds. We have the two credit unions, Affinity Plus Credit Union and COB Credit Union, who are not only giving them accounts at their institutions, but also showcasing them on specific days. So here we have Aventa, who is going to do a product showcase with their winner. And their winner of the ESG, which is the Environmental, Social and Governance Award, Impact Award. And we have Scotiabank with the overall award, and the overall awards are amazing. Yeah. And then we have McBride, who is going to take that person or persons who win. Imagine a whole year of being exposed along with Export Barbados. Wow. And we have the Axbridge Group coming. So our awards are really very business centric and help those young people to look at their career pathways. They may not all own businesses in the future, but they're all put on a solid business and professional runway so that the world then becomes open to them.
And I'm glad you're recognizing the teachers, because I tell you, when they come, they share so many interesting stories. I challenged them with questions and had answers, which is good for me. I like it indeed. So the People's Choice, you said we have to go online and vote.
Yes.
What online where, and what's the deadline?
So the People's Choice Award, you can find it on our socials, our $20 challenge socials. The Nation News is the sponsor, so it's all over their socials as well. And you can scan or you can click on the link, and it runs until midnight on Friday.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. You got it, folks? We don't have a lot of time. We have until today's what day? Wednesday. Yeah. So on Friday to get it right, so you have your People's Choice. We've introduced you here on Morning Barbados. So all of the finalists, now you know a little bit more about them. You know their products, you know their services, and so it's up to you to help us determine who's the People's Choice indeed. So get cracking and get your vote in indeed. Celeste, as always, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to the next iteration, because you know we're always ready to help. Kristen, good to meet you.
Nice
Damien
to meet
and Ryan as well. Thank you for your contributions to this initiative as well, and long may it be. Thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. We're taking a break right here, folks. We're coming back with more and a spoiler right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
the pride, hear the road, live the journey. Barbados on Track, Carifta 2026. A powerful 1-hour documentary on TV8, capturing Team Barbados at the Carifta Games in Grenada, the Spice Isle. Go behind the scenes with the athletes and coaches as they chase glory, face challenges, and represent the broken trident with pride. From intense preparation to unforgettable races, relive the moments that had a nation watching. This is more than track and field. This is heart, determination, and legacy. This Friday at 8:03 p.m. on TV8.
Determination and action. What you just saw is what's coming to TV8 on Friday. The man behind it is back from Grenada in one Anmar Goodrich. Boys, Anmar, welcome back to Morning Barbados. You did promise us to expect it, right?
Yes, sir. Good morning. And thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So with those 3 words, determination, like what in that package can we expect to see?
Well, this really is an in-depth analysis and behind-the-scenes aspect of the Carifta Games for 2026, but a special focus on Team Barbados. So it's an hour-long documentary where I'll be going behind what we saw in terms of our television coverage and giving Barbadians and the entire world a bit of an insight into what it really took for our Barbadian athletes to perform so well, to win medals and do the country proud.
When does it start? Before they left Barbados?
It
starts spoiling the story.
No, it starts in Grenada.
So it's in Grenada. They've landed in Grenada, and you go to see in terms of getting ready for the action on the track and the discussion. So it's going to be riveting.
Yes.
It should be riveting.
It will be.
So tease us with some of the people's whose voices we might hear.
Well, all of the medalists for sure. You'll hear from Ashton Simmons, you'll hear from parents, and of course you'll hear from the officials, the Athletics Association of Barbados. And you'll hear me doing the narration, but this really is a story for the athletes and the officials to share their journey and, you know, to hopefully propel them to the next level.
How was it for you putting this all together, though? Was it emotional? Was it interesting? Was it inspiring? What did you learn while watching and producing it?
Well, I learned a lot, Pearson. I definitely learned that, you know, these things can't be done overnight. I spent hours producing this, actually 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm really happy with the final product, and I'm sure that Barbadians will be proud as well. What I can tell you is that I am the producer, Marlon Phillips, the videographer, Stephen Rowe, the video editor, but this really has been a team aspect in terms of the production of this. I want to say a special shout out and thanks and gratitude to our sponsors, you know, ICBL, Core, Ready Cash, the National Sports Council, PowerAid, Dasani, the Student Revolving Fund, for coming on board for our Carifta coverage and to help, you know, for us to be able to tell this story.
So this is not to be missed.
No.
It's on Friday night, just after the news. You don't even switch because it's going to go so fast. Don't even blink.
8:03 is the time that we'll be airing it. Pierce, I was inspired from something that I saw at Carifta 49 in Jamaica. You know, may he rest in peace, Donald Oliver. He was a producer at Sportsmats, and he did an in-depth piece on the Carifta Games coming to Jamaica. When I saw it, I was like, but I could do this for Barbados as well. You know, I think our athletes deserve this. And it's funny enough because sometimes we see the athletes winning medals, we see the coaches helping them to win medals, but we don't see what it takes. And funny enough, on my way to work this morning, I saw some of the same athletes who will be featured in this documentary on the road, running up the highway, training.
Still going.
Yes.
Never to stop. I mean, there are the games they're preparing for, and they're hoping to get into the Commonwealth Games coming up soon.
So the Commonwealth Games are coming up, and then we have the World Under-20 Championships as well.
Right. But we don't want to get ahead of what's happening to Friday night. Friday night, 8:03, just after the news is finished. Then you stay with us for this epic feature. What are you calling it?
Barbados on Track, the Carifta Story 2026.
It's a riveting story. We saw the results, we saw the responses, we saw everything laid out literally at the line, and that's what we're going to be showing to you, how we got there. How did we get to the finish? How did we get to claim so many medals this time around when compared with previous years? What did it take? What were people told? The sweat, perhaps the tears that came from the performances as well. You will see, all captured from the beautiful Isle of Grenada, and done by Anmar and his team, indeed. And so, Anmar, to you and your team, well done. We're looking forward to watching this.
Thank you so much, Pearson. I just want to give you a bit of insight in terms of how we got the name Barbados on Track. You know, we're improving and developing in terms of our athletics, so I decided that I would name it Barbados on Track, and on track to do well and continue to do well.
I get it. I get it, buddy. I get it, indeed. But thanks again. All right. All the best. And so, Friday, 8:03. CBC TV8 is the only place to be. So encourage all of your friends and relatives, and those of you overseas, tune in as well, because we're streaming. And so you will get to see Barbados on Track, as produced by Anmar and his team. And so we welcome you to come view. You can leave your comments, of course, because it's together as a nation. We're building the best of who we are to represent us in world and global spaces as well. Thanks again, my brother.
Thank you so much.
All right. That's it for today. My little crew joins me in saying to all of you, have a terrific today. Be the will of the Lord. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning.